Hello, dear viewers. Welcome back to Serah's Computer Sessions. So, after a pretty much long break, I'm back. Let's continue with where we stopped. So, today I will be teaching structure of a C program. It's pretty much simple. We'll just go to the video and watch it completely. Structure of a C program. So, speaking about a structure for a program, see, we know that whatever we write in paper, whatever we write in system using different editor softwares, every single content that we write should have a structure. Even if it is a simple formal letter, it has a structure. So likewise, C program also has a structure in which it has to be written. So structure in the sense like it is a set of rules that has to be followed in order to successfully write a C program. So let's see what the structure is all about. The first section in the structure should be documentation section, followed by preprocessor directives, definition section, global declarations, then the main function. Okay, inside the main function, within curly braces, we can write local definitions, statements, and of course a return statement. So I will be dealing with each of them now. So first let's move on to documentation section. So they are just comments which clearly explains what the program is all about. Usually we don't usually write these documentations at the start of the program, but I clearly suggest you to include the documentation section. Usually in colleges when we start writing programs, uh, this practice is actually there, but then when you continue writing programs, you just purposefully omit this documentation section. Yeah, of course it's ignored by the compiler also, because they are just comments that are actually helpful for the programmer to understand what the program is all about. Like you can include any informations inside the documentation sections, like the variables and functions used and its purpose, the header files that are important, the name of the programmer, the aim of the program, etc. So we have finished the documentation section. You know that if you are writing comments, like they are not taken up by the compiler. So even this documentation section, always you keep in mind to use the multi-line comments, like the slash and the asterisk, combination of slash, forward slash and asterisk in the documentation section. Now next comes the preprocessor directives. What are preprocessor directives? They notify the compiler to include the header file or the set of header files that are mentioned within the less than greater than symbol in the program before compiling the source code. You can see the syntax here. It starts with hash include and within the less than greater than symbol a file name, which should be a predefined header file that resides in the compiler C library. Okay. So now what is the purpose of including a header file? See, for example, I need to take a number as input, and I need to display that on the monitor. So taking a number as input or taking something, any data as input and displaying it on the monitor requires some predefined functions to be used, like scanf and printf. We will be dealing with that in detail, don't worry. So these functions are actually defined in a particular header file that resides in C library. So for the compiler to understand what this function is all about and what is the format of this function, how should the function be written, and the meaning of the function, everything, for the compiler to understand everything about this function, it has to have the information of the particular specific header file in which these functions reside at the top of the program. Okay, so as soon as the compiler sees this hash include statement or the preprocessor directive, all the header files that are mentioned along with this hash include statement will be included or imported to this particular program that we write. Okay, so usually, or the main important necessary header function or the preprocessor directive that should be included, the header files that should be included is hash include stdio.h. It is standard input output.h. As I said earlier, the scanf, printf functions and all are defined inside this particular header file. So this header file should be included along with the program that you write, and that too at the top of the function just below the documentation section. Now, an interesting factor about preprocessor directives is that try omitting a preprocessor directive and compile the program. We'll do that now after I take the session. So if you just omit the preprocessor directive, you'll find that you'll just get a warning. But then you'll be able to compile, run the program and get the result. Now, the reason behind that is that we actually, when we write the program, we save the program in .c extension because it is a C program. So as soon as the compiler sees this .c extension, it automatically understands which header files to import. So even though you don't write, even though you omit the header files, it's just that you'll get a warning saying that you have not actually used something that has to be used. Okay. But then a problem occurs when if you make error, syntax error inside the functions that are defined within this header files. Like for example, you're not writing stdio.h and you are using printf statement in your program. So printf statement or printf function has a format in which it has to be written. Now, if you make an error in the format in which it has to be written, then debugging will be really difficult if this header file is not present in your program. So it is always advisable or best to include this header file in your program. Okay, so that's all about header files or preprocessor directives. It's called preprocessor directives because these files are, compiler is directed to these files before the processing happens. So that is why it's called preprocessor directives. Okay. Now, next we'll move on to the definition section. What do you mean by definition? Here you can see an example. For defining something, in this particular definition section, you have to use hash define, a constant name and its value. Usually, whatever constants we use in the program can be defined accordingly using this hash define statement. Okay, it helps us define a variable that is used throughout the program. Now, we have actually studied about global declarations and local declarations in brief. I will be writing programs and explaining the difference between local and global declarations in my future classes. But this definition is not similar to global or local declaration. These definitions include constants that can be defined with a fixed value. The value will never change throughout the program. So that is definition section. Now next we'll move on to global declarations. What are global declarations? They are used to define variables that are used globally within the entire program and is used in more than one function. And not all programs contain global declarations. It's not necessary that every program you write should contain a global declaration. Okay, but if If we need variables to be declared globally, those variables will have a role to play in all the functions that we use inside the program. Usually when we start programming, the only function that we include in a program will be the main function. We will not be writing multiple functions when we start our programming practice. But then as we move on, as we study about functions, there will be different programs given to you that should be, requiring multiple functions to be written in one single program. So when those cases appear, these global declarations come into play. Okay, so let's see about the global and local declaration and its difference in the next section. But as for now, just understand what global declaration is. Okay, so next we'll move on to the main function. I have already taken a little short class on main function. So if you have not watched it, please go to my last sessions and watch it completely, understand it, and then come back and continue this session. Okay, so here inside the main function is where we actually write whatever we have to write to reach to the solution of our problem at hand. So I had already mentioned that main is the function that is the most important function to which the compiler will be directed to when the program is actually compiled. Okay, the compiler will be directed at first to the main function. It's from the main that the compiler goes and checks for all the requirements that should be there inside the program. Okay, so even when the program is executed, also the control is first shifted to this main function. So the main is the main function that should be present inside any program that you write, and the main will have a return data type. And here you can see that I have written int as my return data type. What does int signify? That I will be returning a value that will be an integer value. Okay, so here you can see that the return data type is int, and within the brackets it's just void. That means I'm not passing any values, any arguments to the main function. So within the main function, obviously the last statement should be a return statement, since I've written int main, and if I don't have anything to return, the statement will be filled up with a 0. Okay, return 0 and a semicolon. And the other factors that should be present inside the main function are the local definitions as well as the statements. Local definitions are, statements which includes variables that are used locally within a particular function. If we have local definitions inside the main function, that means the life of the variables defined locally will just reside within the main function. It will not be living outside the main function. Okay. Then other than local definitions, we can include statements. Statements can be different types of statements. I have actually taken a complete detailed session on statements. So again, I'm saying, if you have not watched my session on statements, I advise you to go and watch it and come back. Okay. So now let me take you to another variation of the main function, and that is with the return type void. So if I am using void as my return type, I should not write a return statement at the end of the main function. Okay, I hope you understood this session. Now let's move on to my development environment to see a very simple program. Okay,
Yes,
So,
students, now you can see that a window, a Dev C++ window is open here. Now I have chosen Dev C++ as my integrated development environment because it is free, it's open source. You can choose any IDE upon your choice. It's just up to you and your comfort zone. Okay, choose an ID, open the ID, and the first thing that you have to do here is to create a new file. So for creating a new file, you can either in Dev C++, you can either go and click this icon which represents new, or you can go to file. I know that you are not able to view the top tab or menu bar of Dev C++ here in this video. I apologize for that. I'm not sure why it's not displaying onto my screen recorder. But still, you can imagine that there is a tab on top of the bar that you can see in here, and it consists of file, edit, search, view, all those options. Okay, so from file you can go to new and select source file, so you get to create a new file. Now here you can see that the file is just named untitled2, so I don't want that untitled format of file name here. So the best programming practice is to name the file before you start to scribble something onto it. So I usually do name it or save it with a particular file name, and the file name should always have some connection with the thing that you are actually performing inside the program. Okay, or it should have some connection with the problem of your program. So here I'm going to go and name the file. So for that I'm going to file option, and I'm going to click save as. So you get to see a save as window opened here. So I'm going to choose a location where I have to create a specific folder called DevC program. So you can just give any names as you like. I just prefer to go name it as DevC programs, and within that folder I am going to give this file a specific file name. So before giving the file name here, see just below the file name option, you have a save as type option, and it is by default C++, that you can see here. So you have to go change it to c.c source file, and then give a name, appropriate name here. So let me give a good day. Okay, but the name, because I am writing a program to display a good day, I am naming my file as good day. So then you can just click the save button here on your right corner bottom. Yeah, so you got that good day name displayed here. You can see. I hope that you can see it. Okay, now you can start writing the program. So before writing the program, let me just um, write the structure of the program in here using comments, of course. So a single line comments are represented with a double slash. So the first statement in the structure was preprocessor directives, right? The second statement or the block that should appear is the global definitions. Now the third thing is the global declarations. Of course, the one that comes after that was the main function. The main functions should be enclosed within curly braces. Okay, now it's a good programming practice to move. What is happening? Okay, move the curly braces, a tab space, just for the beauty of it. Okay. Now, whatever you're going to write within the main statement, main function, sorry, has to come within the pair of curly braces. So, the first set of statements that should appear is within the main function is the local declarations and then the statements that actually leads you to solve the problem at hand. Okay, now if okay, then this is the basic structure of a C program. Now let's write all the statements that comes within the structure, the different constructs of the structure. So the first is the preprocessor directive. So I'm going to write a preprocessor directive that is very much essential for compiling and running a C program, and that is hash include. Which was that preprocessor directive? It was hash include stdio.h. Now remember, when you just type in the less than symbol, the greater than symbol also appears as a pair. So they come as a pair. You don't have to type in the greater than symbol in the C++ again. And the cursor is positioned in between them. So you can just give the stdio.h directly. So that is the one preprocessor directive that I am going to include in my this program. And again, coming to global definitions or plainly definitions, I don't have anything to define in here because this is a very simple program that pertains to just display a good day. So no global declarations, no global definitions for this program. Now the main comes in. So the first type of main function that I had taken in my session was a main that has a return type int, right? So I am going to give, again, the pair of brackets came in pairs, so you don't have to type an extra ending bracket or a left bracket and right bracket. You don't have to type in, just type the left bracket, the right bracket will come on its own in Dev C++. Okay, so here the return type of my main function is int, and of course there are no local declarations because it's just a display message. So for displaying anything onto the monitor, I need to use a function known as printf. Okay, printf, and whatever we have to display has to be typed in within the brackets. So don't forget to place a semicolon after the bracket because it is a statement. I have already taken statements. If you have not watched my video on statements, please go watch the detailed explanation on statements and come back here. Okay, so within the printf, whatever you are writing or you're going to write should be enclosed within double quotation marks. So I'm just gonna display a good day. Okay, here now need the space. Okay, so since my return data type is an int, here you can see that it's an int for the main function, I should write a return 0. Even though there is nothing to return, something has to be returned, and therefore I'm going to return the value 0 because I've written the return data type for the main function as int. So here is my program. It's almost complete. I hope that there are no errors in this program. We'll go towards compiling the program. So for compiling the program, here you can see there is a compile icon. Go click on this compile icon. The program is getting compiled. Yes, the compilation is over. You can see that there are no errors and there are no warnings. Okay, so the next step is to go run the program. So here you can have you have the icon for running. So either you can click this icon or you can press F10 on your keyboard. Both are the same. We'll go and run the program. Yes, here your result, you can see the result on this display. It's good day. Whatever I had given within the printf statement has been displayed without any errors. So I hope that you got my point on how to write a simple program with the basic necessary constructs of the structure of a C program. Okay, now I had mentioned in my session about a void main, right? Like giving void as return data type for the main function, right? So if I'm giving void, I should avoid this return 0. I'm just commenting return 0. So let's see how this goes. I'm saving. Always remember to click the save icon or save the file before going and compiling it. Okay, so I'm just compiling. There are no errors, no warnings. So again, I'm gonna run the program. Yes, she got the answer. As a good day. Okay, so remember, if you are using the return data type as int, you have to write a return statement. And if you are using a return type as void, there is no necessity of a return statement. Okay.
Okay, next, let's purposefully do some edit to check to see whether there are any errors that are popping up. Okay. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to uncomment this return statement. So you can see that now the return is active, but it is along with the void. So usually in the void, we don't write return statement because void means we are not returning anything. So let's go and compile this. I'll first save it. I'll go and compile this and let's see whether there will be any errors. Okay. Yes, but it's not an error. It's just a warning. It's just like compiler is just warning you that you're returning something with a value in a function that has a return type void. See here, there is a warning. But let's go because it's just a warning and it's not error. We'll just go and run it and see whether we'll get an output or not. Here we have an output. See, you can see that the output has come. It's like good day. So that means even if the warning has popped up, the compiler understands that the program has it's just a mistake and it's like running the program. Okay, but don't think that the compiler will understand everything and the compiler will adjust. No, it's not at all a good programming practice to make errors in the program. Okay, so please don't do that. If you are using a void as return type, you are not supposed to give a return statement. Okay.
Okay, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the semicolon purposefully. We'll just see what will happen when we compile this. Okay, let's go save this program and we are going to compile as if we have not made any errors. Okay, yes, so I'm going to compile it. Come on, see, there is an error. You get an error here at line number 16, but you know that like we know what is the actual error now because we did it on purpose. It's not in line number 16, it's in line number 14. But then the compiler says that it happens in line number 16 and the error is expected semicolon before the curly braces token. So since the curly braces is lying in line number 16, only when the compiler compiles the line number 16 does it understand that there is some error that has happened associated with line number 16. Okay, so we should understand it's clearly specified in the error that semicolon is missing. So just go and check whether in which statement you have missed the semicolon and put it right there. Okay. Yes, so here semicolon, we know that we use semicolon as a delimiter inside C programs. So until and unless the compiler sees the semicolon, it will search for the semicolon. And without seeing the semicolon, when it actually sees the curly braces, it understands that yes, This is not correct. So that is why we get an error in line number 16 in this problem, in this program. As you can see that I've left a line space between the last statement and the curly braces, closing curly braces. So it's giving line number 6. I hope that you understood why the compiler is giving error at line number 16. So okay, so I am going to solve this by just inserting a semicolon here, so it's solved. You know what the result is, so I'm not just going to make you view the result again and again. Okay, now the next thing that I'm going to, I'll just compile and just make the error vanish. Okay, now it's good. Now the next thing that I'm going to put forward is to comment this particular hash include statement, a preprocessor directive. Let's see what will happen. Okay, so I'm going to compile. Come here, we have a warning at line number 14. So line number 14 has this printf statement, right? So what does the warning actually indicate? The warning is saying that incompatible implicit declaration of built-in function printf. So it is saying, the compiler is saying that I have not explicitly declared or given something that contains a definition of the built-in function printf. So printf is a built-in function, and this function will sure be defined somewhere in the C library. Obviously, it's defined in the header file stdio.h. And I, or the programmer, has not explicitly given that statement. Okay, so this particular printf statement is incompatible. Compiler is actually saying that, and it's a warning. So as uh, we got a warning for that return statement along with the void return type function, here also, even though it is just a warning, it's just a warning, and so I think you can go and run the program. Yes, of course you can run the program, you'll get an output. Okay, so see, why are we getting an output? We are getting the output because in most cases, when we, as I said earlier, because we are saving it in a .c format, the compiler understands that it's a C program, and it understands that most of the header, most of the predefined built-in functions reside in this stdio.h. So because of that knowledge, uh, we are getting just a warning, and because of that the compiler because of that we can run and get the correct output. Okay, but if some error happens in your printf statement or in any of the built-in functions that you use, if any syntax error happens, then debugging will be a really difficult procedure for you to solve this out. Okay, now this is a very simple program with just a maximum of 16 lines. But when you write programs with a whole lot of lines, finding errors and understanding them and rectifying them is really a hideous task. So we need to understand the each and every errors that can happen in a program. So while we are doing programming in Serah's computer sessions, I hope that I will be able to give you indications about any errors that can happen and how to rectify these errors.
Hello, I hope that today's session was easy and all of you who are listening to me has got an idea about the basic structure of a C program. It's not necessary that we should include every subsections of the structure when we write every program. It's according to the requirement of the problem at hand. Okay, so we will be dealing with different programs and the variations of the different programs that can happen. So don't worry, just be with me patiently, so that you will understand the basics of C programming. So So in the next session, I will be dealing with local and global variables and the differences between them. Okay, I had actually planned to take another different session which explains the backstage process related with the programming. When you write the program, you save it, you compile it, you run it. What happens at the backstage? So, but then I changed my mind to take about global and local declarations in the next session. So this is according to one of our subscribers' request, and so stay tuned with me. I will be coming with local and global, variables and the differences between them as soon as I can. So thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any suggestions, any doubts, you can either leave a comment or you can mail me. I'll give you my mail ID in here. So again, thank you once more for watching. Mm. Have a good day.